I want to get to some calls because I haven't got much time left, but I really do want to deal with this. So let's go to Stuart in Seattle, Washington. Stuart, you there?
Yes. If anybody wants to stay home and not vote, they are doing exactly what the corporatocracy wants.
Right.
We need to vote the corporate Democrats out in the primaries. Everybody forgets that there are primaries.
Mm-hmm.
So first we need to fight the corporate Dems in the primaries and then vote for the best that we can.
Right.
The other half
and then follow up with them once they're in office.
Yes.
And be informed about it.
Mm-hmm. And the other half is we voted the best legislature and presidency that we could in years, and we got crap because those people don't run the show. The corporatocracy runs the show. We need to fight the puppeteers. We need to fight corporate power because those are the people that are pressuring our legislators, our president, to do what we don't want them to do.
Right.
And we need to fight the corporate propaganda media.
Yes, and there are overt ways to do that, and there are covert ways to do that. The overt ways to do that, of course, are supporting progressive candidates, working for campaign finance reform. These are things that issues have been on the table for a long time, and we can definitely fight for specific issues. The covert way we can do it is by in our own way of being, in our own as progressives, be a little more disciplined in how we speak of our own issues. Insist on a certain level of information in what we're talking about. Insist on like I said, playing the long game, insisting on a higher standard for ourselves, and sticking to it even when they go low. And they're going to. They're going to. You make an excellent point. By the way, people are in the chat room are really appreciate your call, Stuart. I want you to know that.
Thank you
they're
so
actually
much.
mentioning it. Yeah, appreciate it. I'm going to go to Emma in Coleraine, Mass. Let's see. Where's she? She's 4. There she is. Emma, hi.
Hi, can you hear me all right? We're having terrible winds here, and my phone lines aren't great, but...
That's okay. You sound like you're in a tin can, but I hope that's not the case. It's kind of charming, though. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to thank you for helping us not be so impatient.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of progressives are a little too impatient. Like your last caller was saying, we have to vote in the primaries. We have to know our issues. We have to know what's the difference between what the Republicans and conservatives are trying to make it look like what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that occasionally we're getting callers who are actually shills.
Oh, absolutely.
The Republicans and the conservatives who are just trying to foment distrust
and anxiety, right?
And anxiety and anger and all the rest, and make us apathetic or make us just less supportive of our candidates.
I totally agree. And I thank you for the call, Emma. That's a really good point, and hopefully you survive the wind greatly. Be careful. One of the things that the memes they float constantly is the lesser of two evils idea, and I spoke to that earlier or whatever. But that's one of those things. There's no difference between the parties now. There's really no difference between the parties. What? Well, who cares? Might as well just vote for the one that makes me feel safe because I'm scared right now. So I'll vote for the Republicans, or I'll just not vote at all because there's no difference between the two of them. If there was no difference between the two of them, we wouldn't even be talking about Ben Nelson. We wouldn't even be talking about Joe Lieberman because the rest of the Dems would all be the same. We wouldn't have the single obstruction of individual senators wouldn't matter because they wouldn't be presenting any bills that actually had anything in them to begin with. The important thing is that we stay engaged, and the thing that they're going to try to drive you away from is the polls. And I'm going to find that quote that sometimes Tom Hartman plays, Tony. We're going to find that one with a conservative activist, one of the fathers of the conservative movement in the early 80s, who was one of Reagan's big supporters, who said the goal is to have people not vote. As few people vote as possible is their goal, and then control that vote as much as possible. And we have to remember that. Part of this, every time you hear somebody going, I don't care, I'm out, you got to understand that that's part of an idea virus that's put out there to guarantee low turnout, to guarantee a removal from the process. So, anyways, let me get one more. Let's see. We get in Chapel Hill. We've got Jay in Chapel Hill. Jay, you there?
Yeah, I'm here real quick. This isn't the main reason I called, but essentially your message of telling voters just to suck it up and deal with what they are offered isn't really motivating people to get to the poll, just in reality. But the main reason I called is that when
there's not an election currently.
There will be in November 2010.
That's true.
And and just telling people like, oh, this is a crappy bill, so just be happy with it and go.
I'm not just saying that. I'm saying that I said that Senate bill has some issues, and clearly we're not happy as progressives about it. But there's so much good stuff. Hold on, there's so much good stuff in the House bill. I'm not willing to kill the Senate bill to do it, and I'm also not willing to buy this meme that keeps being floated that the Obama administration is a betrayal of progressive ideals, and they do nothing to support it. This kind of blanket statements. I'm not going to buy it. I don't let it float, and I don't think that. And I think that contributes to this idea that people are going to vote the other way or not vote at all.
Okay.
And you've got to fight that.
The reason I called, though, is because, 6 months ago, the talking heads and pundits in the Village in D.C. on TV were like, oh, don't worry about the public option. It's dead. The liberals always cave. Oh, it's a joke. And I was wondering how something that polls 60 to 70% approval, which both Medicare buy-in and public option still to this day poll, how these guys 6 months ago were just looking at the polls, we're saying it's immensely popular, still 20 to 30 points more popular than Obama's health care plan overall. How these guys in D.C. and the pundits and the Chris Matthews were so, prescient to know 6 months ago that this wasn't going to be in is because when the liberals cave and then they're expected to cave again and they continue to cave, it just reinforces the cycle. And so, like the unions, I feel sorry for them. I'm in a state that doesn't allow unions, but these guys look like the biggest idiots in the world because there's no way they're getting card check, right? I mean, and they look like idiots. Like I think it's Stern from SEIU looks like the biggest idiot supporting this healthcare plan that's going to tax his workers. This excise tax on the quote Cadillac.
Well, that's it. Yeah, right. That's the one that's in the Senate plan, totally. But like I said, we're still getting through committee on this, and then and I want to, I think they're learning the kind of law of give and take in this. There's a lot of upside, and I got to go because we're running up against the end of the show. But there are a lot of issues all happening at once. One of the reasons why we voted for Obama and one of the reasons why we mobilized so much is because this country was in such dire straits because of the last 8 years. The concept that we're going to be able to extract ourselves smoothly, quickly, and painlessly from it without any kind of push is I think fundamentally naive. And I think our earlier callers and Emma included were great in saying that we need to focus on getting more progressives in the House. If I could have a Senate full of Al Frankens, I can't tell you how happy I would be about that fact, and I think you would be too. So let that drive you to actually be involved. And if you have any problems with the bills as they come along, let yourself be even more involved. I'm Hal Sparks. I will see you tomorrow on the Stephanie Miller Show. 1-800-STEPH12 is our number. HalSparks.com, @HalSparks on Twitter.
Attention, listeners. Here's an important announcement on identity theft from Police Chief Joe.
Man, that's just... It wasn't tough. It was a good time. Yeah, I like that. I like the engagement. We have there's a we have a responsibility to have that kind of engagement. So I don't mind at all that people are calling in and quote unquote being sort of tough on me. Hold on a second. The issue is, do you bend when somebody calls in and goes, I think blah blah blah? Do you you stand by what you say or don't you? And I stand by what I say. I'm always willing to be wrong. I'm always willing to learn a new piece of information and shift my opinion based on that. But in absence of that, I'm certainly not going to just kind of, roll over and take this kind of nihilistic BS that you keep, I keep hearing about, especially when that comes from a segment of the populace that, doesn't actually have the country's best interest at heart, and a lot of times are sitting in a phone bank with a script given to them by the Republican National Committee. I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to, fall for the libs who get suckered into it either.